or Facebook?
I'll get that to you. And hi, welcome to Football and High Heels Present. I'm Sammi, your host, and we're here to discuss, obviously, football. This week is the first week of the NFL season, and after this preseason, I'm excited, and apparently my cat is too, because she keeps trying to give her opinion. And today we actually have a semi-celebrity on our show, Brian of the River's Edge. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Semi-celebrity. I'm the big fish here in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh's moral compass. Your voice of reason in Three Rivers of Chaos.
I was just giving you a hard time. Of course, you're a celebrity. But yes, actually, I'm usually on your show, and now it's your turn to be on my show. It's
flipping things around, you know.
I know, right? It's I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what we're gonna do about it, but at least we know our friends are watching. We have so many mutual friends, including my brother, who is amazing. So
star of the B Movie Bros podcast.
Yes, him and Corey. I know. I'm so happy. Woohoo. I think everyone that watches my show knows about it because I was giving a countdown because he got married the day of the Olympic opening ceremonies. And we were discussing it, and I'm like, no, that's my brother's wedding day. That's more important than the Olympics. So that's why there's no show that day. But anyway, yay, Paul. Yay, B Movie Bros. Yay, River's Edge. And let's talk football. So first of all, who's your team?
Who do I support?
Yes.
I guess I support the Steelers because they're the hometown team. I really don't have a favorite team. It's a weird situation for me because I love the media that surrounds the NFL, and I love the personalities, but as an organization, I actually detest the NFL.
Oh, wow. We got to discuss that. Tell me a little bit more about that and why. That's a really interesting thing. I've never heard anyone say that before, except for the fact that I also don't really commit myself to a team. I'm from New York, so of course the Giants and the Bills I support. Sure. And now that I live in Pennsylvania, of course I have to support the Steelers. So, but basically, I'm like, whoever's on that's watching, I basically cheer for whoever everyone else is cheering for.
Yeah, the reason why I'm looking it up right now just to show you to get the exact. I want to credit the right place. Okay, San Diego Union Tribune. If you look up the San Diego Union Tribune, they actually have collected an entire database of crimes committed by NFL players in just the 2000s alone, and many of these crimes are violent. An entire database of crimes from one organization, and the arguments that they run around with is, oh, well, there's more people who commit crimes outside of the NFL when you look up the percentages. Well, the average person isn't a multimillionaire. Please spare me the sad story. Put the violin away. I don't care. Multimillionaires running around committing crimes in the streets, drunk driving, whenever the NFL actually provides services that are free of cost to their employees. Multimillionaires are given handouts to get them home safely, yet they're still driving drunk through the streets. They're still committing these heinous acts towards women, towards kids, and I just don't care for an organization that is so willing to sweep that under the rug for a profit. So
exactly.
I love the media that goes along with the NFL, but the NFL as an organization, not so much of a fan.
No, I completely understand that. And you're actually the first person that actually brought that up. I've never heard anyone bring this up before. And you're right, because I'm always seeing NFL star, whoever does this one does that. Ray Rice did this.
Sure.
The dude from the Steelers did that. It's like, and why did I get away with it? And then they're allowed to play. And everyone's going to kill me for saying this, but we suspend Tom Brady for deflating his balls. Where is the logic?
But I actually can understand that.
Oh, no, I'm not saying I'm not condoning. I'm not saying I don't understand it. I'm just saying we take that more seriously than we do the people that are beating their girlfriends and wives, the people who are drunk driving, the people that are abusing children. It's like they should be getting more of a punishment than Tom Brady did. We're so worried about him and his balls but we're not worried about what the other these people are doing, and it just
in that particular situation, I actually can understand the NFL's point because that goes right to the heart of the integrity of the game, and their entire business model is flipped upside down if people think that the games are being rigged or people are not. You're not getting a true product on the field, that it can be manipulated by some outside source. So I can understand taking such a hard stance on deflated balls, as silly as it does sound. I guess my bigger concern is we as a society are more upset about deflated footballs than we are about someone dragging their wife out of an elevator or someone who helps cover up a murder like we had in Baltimore with Ray Lewis. So those are more the situations that I think I'm concerned with, the fact that we as a society are willing to look past things like this because, God damn it, or I don't know if you can say that on here. You can make a tackle or you can throw a ball. I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, that's great, but who cares if you're beating somebody or you're engaged in some sort of a drug ring like happened up in New England or all of these other situations. That's, I guess, what bothers me is we as a society are just so willing to push them under the rug. And yeah, the NFL is about profit. That's what they're here for. But, if we as a society cared, then they would start to care because then their profit would be jeopardized.
That's true, yeah, and I definitely agree with you on that. And I honestly don't understand why we, as a society, accept all that. I know I don't. I know if I would refuse to. I wouldn't say I would refuse to watch, but I would refuse to support. Like if they came out with a product or something, I wouldn't buy it because I would never give them that kind of support. But I do love the game. I would still watch the game, but that doesn't mean I condone their actions, and it doesn't mean I'm going to support them. So if they're going to endorse something, I just won't buy it, and that will be my way of, I guess, protesting.
Stand on it. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yes.
No, I understand completely. It's a fun game. I mean, it is. It's an exciting game, and I understand that it's a tough sport, and you're going to get some questionable people. And I don't like to throw all the players under the rug because there are some great people. I know in the Steelers we've had, Troy Polamalu, who's always been a class act, and some other great guys, Brett Kiesel, a bunch of great class act people, Lynn Swan. But at the same time, you do have this riffraff, and it's just an accepted part of today's culture. And I just don't get why. I do get why, because we're so obsessed with being entertained 24/7 that we put our need for entertainment above our need for societal justice and a certain acceptable way of acting for these people, and it just blows my mind. And people make excuses for them. Like I talk about James Harrison all the time with people, and people make excuses for him about his job meaning more than my job or anybody else's job. And I'm like, well, really, in the grand scheme of things, that's completely inaccurate.
It is. I mean, look at us. I have cops in my family. I'm friends with a lot of firemen, military.
Sure.
How is that different? How is football more important than that? No, that argument pisses me off. It just frustrates me so much because we're just basically, like you said, we're taking too much of an obsession with entertainment and being entertained and supporting sports, which is nothing wrong with supporting it, but we can't be obsessed with it because we're giving people the wrong message.
Well, I guess I look at Matt Geica, who's on our network, riversedgepgh.com, 24/7 local music in Pittsburgh, with some local talk shows as well. And Matt Geica, who is the Pirates beat writer for DKPittsburghSports.com, which is a big sports website in the area. He does a show on our network, and he's always told through Twitter and other things, and many sports media people are. I kind of get away from. I kind of escape that because I cover more societal issues. But these sports people, as soon as they start to talk about issues like this, they're told, stick to sports. You should just stick to sports. We don't want to hear any of that. We just want you to stick to sports. People are just so they're so obsessed in their little bubble that they just don't care about what else is going on in the world. I mean, they will if it's a backup quarterback, like when Michael Vick came in and everybody was upset because he tortured dogs, and I was right there drumming that bandwagon. But those same people were very mute when it came to James Harrison or I can't think of the guy's name who was driving drunk through the South Side, or any of these other situations that were going on. When it's a guy who's making plays, when it's a guy who the Steelers need, everything's cool. When it's a guy who's sitting on the bench, then it's a big deal, except for the starting quarterback, because no one in Pittsburgh likes the starting quarterback, no matter who it is.
Why is that? I don't understand. I hear that all the time since I moved to Pennsylvania, and everyone's always against the Steelers quarterback. Is there a reason for it? Is he bad luck?
Well,
I don't understand.
people in Pittsburgh in particular, I can't speak to Philadelphia. They've always been against the starting quarterback, dating all the way back to, when we had Terry Bradshaw, who won 4 Super Bowls here in Pittsburgh, but people were still on his case all the time. It's just a thing. I don't know if it's a jealousy thing or what. I know there's all sorts of stories about Ben Roethlisberger snubbing waitresses and things like that. But, there was a Pirates player who went up to one of the joints on Mount Washington, and they had a no kids sign. He tried to finagle his way in with his kids. They wouldn't let him in, and people were acting like he was victimized. I mean, the signs there, they want unequal treatment for some athletes, but then, people like Ben Roethlisberger, who's the, the starting quarterback, for some reason, we got to put him in his place. I don't get it. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. It really kind of escapes me, but that's what it is. I think it might be a jealousy issue. I don't know.
I don't know, but it's really weird. But like you said, I noticed that a lot.
It's the same thing with goalies too in Pittsburgh. Everyone likes the backup goalie as well.
Yeah, I don't understand. There's something about it. Maybe you're right. Maybe everybody is jealous, but I don't know. It's one of those unsolved mysteries, I suppose.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't really mean to get you on a rant, but I like listening to you because you always have a lot of interesting things to say, and everyone can tune in to the River's Edge in Pittsburgh. And if you're not, what are you waiting for? You can hear more of Brian whenever you want.
That's right. And I'll do the radio thing where worldwide, riversedgepgh.com. I don't know why radio stations say that. They say that like it's some big ordeal. Like every radio station in the world has an online streaming service, but they all like go with that voice like worldwide. Like it's something crazy.
Maybe I should start doing that so I can get more people to watch it. I'm on YouTube, worldwide. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can know when I'm updating.
That's right.
Anyway, we are in the NFL Week 1, and Week 1 is always a big week. We just finished the preseason, and basically that doesn't count for anything except one big fancy practice where they practice against each other. Now, did you watch any of the preseason games?
I did not. No, I listened to some of the coverage on the radio. Preseason's just so boring. And if I don't have to watch it for my job, I don't. I listen to the commentary and I listen to a lot of that stuff to hear what's going on because, like I said, I love the media that surrounds it. But have you ever seen a preseason football game?
It's like watching a practice game or watching a high school football game, in my opinion.
I might as well watch paint dry, to be honest. That would be more invigorating and, maybe would have a better outcome.
Perhaps, yeah. I do have things that need to be painted. Maybe I'll watch that dry while watching a preseason. We'll see which one either puts me to sleep faster or entertains me more. Maybe I should do that next year.
Be a nice a poll discussion you could put out at footballandhighheels.com. What's more exciting, paint drying or preseason football game? Somebody tried to sell me tickets, and I think they wanted like $40 a ticket, and I'm thinking $40 for a preseason football game? Are you paying me or am I paying you?
Yeah, I know. That's insane. I mean, have you seen the prices of an NFL football ticket? I've been dying to go to a game, and it's super duper expensive. I don't understand.
Yeah, I was only ever to one game in person, and it was a really exciting game, actually. It was back quite a few years ago. The Steelers made their way to the AFC Championship against the Jets. But the game before that was the more interesting game. Well, one, because the Steelers lost against the Jets, but we were up against Baltimore. And Baltimore, as you know, is a huge rival with the Steelers, the former Browns. Right. And a huge rivalry, lots of hatred. And I'm there at this game, and we ended up getting tickets that night. I think it was that night, and we got them for like $130 bucks a ticket somehow. It was some sort of like discount after sale type of website. So people were just looking to unload these tickets. And
wow, that's incredible.
We're up at the top in the bleachers, which is a point of contention. I don't think any professional stadium that was built, in the modern era should have bleacher seats, but we're there in the bleachers, and we're watching the game. And the Ravens are just kicking our ass. I mean, it was a slaughter, a bloodbath. And I'm just like thinking, what the hell did I just spend all this money for? And then we go out to halftime. All the Ravens fans are gloating. We're all miserable. We come back, and this is back when I was like really into the Steelers. It's before my eyes were opened. And we come back. I sit down, and then all of a sudden, it was literally a tale of two halves. The Steelers came back, and they won. And we're all leaving, and like it went from like literally like doom and gloom to winning, and you could just see the Ravens fans that were there. They were just speechless. Nobody was saying anything, and just the energy and the buzz as everyone was singing Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl through the stairwell and the hallways, and then out onto the streets and across the bridge, just everywhere. The entire crowd was singing from the time we got out of our seats until the time I reached my car. And it was really one of the most interesting and exciting sports moments in my life. But that's the only game I was ever able to make it to, because you're right, the ticket prices are just so expensive.
Yeah, I always wondered why that was. I mean, I understand they have to charge quite a bit because I guess, stadium fees or whatever, but still, at least making where us normal people could afford to go once in a while. I mean, I wish I could afford it, but maybe one day I'll be reporting on the sidelines. You never know, but I promise I'll try to get to a game one day.
The problem and the reason why they're so expensive, there's a season ticket waiting list for the Steelers that is, I think, at least over a decade. I think it's like 10-year waiting list, like over a decade. So that's why the ticket prices are so expensive, because people will buy them. And a lot of those people don't even go to the games. They sell them at these extreme prices. And that's why people like you and I can't make it.
That's ridiculous. I don't understand, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, I don't know. It would be nice to see one. Maybe, like you said, getting on the sidelines. Maybe I'll make it into the press box one day. But it'll be hard in my type of entertainment medium, where I kind of cover a wide variety of subjects. I think you'll probably have a better chance than I will. Yeah.
I'll have you as my assistant.
Thank you. There we go. That'll work.
That'll work. That way, you can put your commentary on your show the next day. I can have mine live, and everybody's happy, and we can both get one thing checked off the bucket list.
That's right.
Yeah, but anyway, what I want to discuss is week 1. Let me see here who the Steelers are playing. And we have a lot of really good. They're in Washington on Monday, September 12th on ESPN at 7:10 p.m. I don't know if you plan to watch, but what do you expect from them? And do you think they have a chance of beating Washington?
I think they could beat them, but man, it's definitely a lot more complicated than it would have seemed at the beginning of the season. I thought they were going to run away with the division, possibly the AFC Championship early on. But now, between the injuries and the smoke, the Mary J, their offensive prowess has been really diminished. It's really a shame. And it blows my mind, because a team that was looking like it could possibly come out of the AFC and compete for the Super Bowl. I mean, not that you never know, injuries happen, things happen, but I think they had as good a chance as anyone. And in literally some bad luck and some marijuana got in the way. So I think, this game, I think originally I would have marked it down as a win. Now I would put it down as a maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Like you said, I've been doing a lot of research on it, and I've noticed, with the injuries, with the drugs, and I think it's really going to put a damper on it. I mean, I want them to win because I live in Pennsylvania now, and I support my home teams, but still, right now, I'm really not sure, because there's so much going on and so much writing on this that unless they really step it up, I really don't think it's going to happen. I'll be honest with you. Sorry, Pittsburgh, but I honestly don't think there's going to be a win this time.
You don't say. I don't know. I don't want to say no. If you made me put money on it, I think the Steelers will come up, but I think it'll be barely. And the only reason why I say that is because of Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. I think the two of them together may be able to push the Steelers over the edge in week 1, but I'm not putting money on it. If you make me go down to the casino right down the street from Heinz Field, I'm not going to put any money on that game.
I wouldn't put any money on it either, but yes. And speaking of Antonio Brown, he just finished the season last spring on Dancing with the Stars. Did you watch him?
No, I've heard, yeah, and I watched clips of it, but I didn't see a lot of it, but I know he's the second Steeler after Hines Ward.
Hines Ward, yes.
To make it to the program. I think I watched more of the Hines Ward one. I used to watch more TV, and it's just I got to a point now where this station here and everything else I have going on is just like engulfed my life. So I mostly now I'm watching YouTube and podcasting and things like that. And I usually the Steelers games are what I probably will see because I tend to go out more for the sporting events nowadays. But yeah, no, I was aware. I heard he did pretty good.
He did. I believe I think he came in either 4th or 5th place. It was a double elimination that day, so it was unclear what place he came in, but he was very good. He was very charming, and he actually learned how to dance. I was really impressed with him.
Did he have the Lego cut going during that?
Kind of, yeah. It was like a weird haircut, but it looked adorable on him. But I love him, so I'm kind of biased, but
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's an egomaniac, but sometimes when you're in a position like that, that's what's going to help you get over the edge. I mean, he is one of, if not the best, wide receiver in football. So, I understand where the ego comes from, I guess.
Yeah, and there are some times when you actually, and I hate saying it because I don't condone it, but there's some times when you actually earn that ego, and sometimes there's really nothing wrong with showing it as long as you don't do it too much like some people do. So I think he does just enough.
No, I know exactly what you mean. As the most interesting man in DeBerg, I understand how being humble is vital in today's culture. So I completely on the same page.
Good. It's good to know. And you are an incredible asset to Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh media. So maybe you'll be on Dancing with the Stars next. Maybe we'll compete against each other, and I'm going to win.
I could do the robot.
I will pay you $1 million if you get cast on that show and do the robot.
I will do it, too.
I know you would. That's the scary part. I'll do my little white girl dancing, and you do the robot, and somehow maybe it'll make it a tie. Maybe we'll both win that Mirror Ball trophy.
Yeah, that would be fun. However, I do think that I will probably be outdanced. However, one thing I do have maybe on you and maybe on everybody on that program is I actually got a bunch of people to do the robot with me at Saddle Ridge, which is a country club here in Pittsburgh where people are line dancing and everything else. And I got a group to do the robot with me.
Okay, maybe you do have an edge, Dan, but at least we'll have all our mutual friends in the audience, but they have to decide who they're cheering for, you or me.
I think you'll win, to be honest. I mean, the robot is about the limit. You can't come out and do the robot every day. I mean, I can do the Macarena. That's one thing that I still remember. Do you remember when that was popular?
Yeah, that was back years ago when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah, Myron Cope, who was a color commentator for the Steelers radio network, once went on local television and did the Macarena on live TV, and to this day I'm still trying to figure out why and how that had anything to do with football, but people loved him and he did it.
I don't know, sometimes people do random stuff that way, maybe it's just so we never forget.
Maybe because I will never forget it. I think he was like as old as time itself up there doing the Macarena, but I don't know.
Wow. But yeah, going back to the Steelers,
yes.
It's going to be an interesting game, so I'm really curious to see what happens. I would hate to say that I really am not sure they're going to win, and I hope they do win, but at this point, it's like you said, it's a maybe, and I'm really curious to see what will happen. Now, what I'm even more interested in is a New England at Arizona game, which is on September 11th on NBC at 8:30, because of course, as I mentioned in the beginning of the broadcast, no Tom Brady for the New England Patriots. I think he's suspended for 4 games, right?
4 games, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I want to know who is replacing him and how do you think they're going to do without him? Because everyone has him as a greatest of all time, or as they abbreviate it on social media as GOAT or GOAT. So I have no idea.
Let's see. Looks like Jimmy Garoppolo is the backup quarterback. That's what I'm reading here. I don't know. Let me see if I can find some of his statistics. It's hard to say because the thing is last time Brady was out, people act like it was such a down year, but realistically, for losing Tom Brady, they didn't have such a bad year. I think it could go either way, really. That's okay. Good. It's trying to load a video. I'm like, don't load the video. Opening remarks. Let's see if it says anything here. I think it could go either way. I actually would give this one. I think the Patriots may come out. I think they're going to surprise people because they have such a good offensive line. And that's one thing. If you look at Tom Brady over the years, it's hard to get to him. And when you give a quarterback the time to make the right decision, you're putting them in a position to succeed. Here in Pittsburgh, we're in a position where Ben Roethlisberger is really great at thinking on his feet. Andrew Luck can think on his feet down in Indianapolis. But a lot of these quarterbacks like Brady, not that he can't think on his feet, but let's be honest, he really hasn't had to a lot of his career. He's had the time. He's had the time to make the plays necessary. And I think, when you look at when Matt Castle replaced him, even that year, it was a down year for New England, but really, realistically, for losing Tom Brady, it wasn't that much of a down year. I think that they can come out and win this game.
It's a good possibility. I'm just curious because everyone makes such a big deal about him as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I feel like I'm nothing against him. Again, I don't want anyone to think that I'm anti-Tom Brady or anything, but I think that he's more hype than anything else. It's like, yes, he's a wonderful football player. He's a wonderful quarterback, but I think they hype him up so much that we expect so much that when someone else is going to be playing in his place, I feel like everyone's going to feels like they're going to be let down.
I don't think he's hyped at all, but I do think he has some things working in his favor. I think he's definitely, if it weren't for the scandals that have tarnished his record, I think he would have been considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and probably the greatest quarterback of this generation.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think he's also more known as to who he's married to. I mean, he's married to a Victoria's Secret model, and everybody...
How often does the NFL player in the family end up not being the breadwinner?
That's true. Yeah. So, yeah, I made him a little bit jealous because, I wish I looked like her, but, I can't have that. I'm only a 4'10" little white girl, but I'll never look like that. I'm never going to be that tall. But yes, I'm a little bit jealous that
you're beautiful yourself. So
thank you, and you're quite dapper yourself. So
thank you.
But I'm a little bit jealous that she gets to be with a guy like that. But they have cute kids, though. I have to give them that. They have adorable kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. It's interesting. I don't know. It's kind of a shame because I think the Patriots would have won, to be honest, most of their Super Bowls without all of the scandals haunting them. But I don't know what the obsession is with cheating. I almost wonder if it's something. You saw some people get like a thrill out of cheating.
It's because it's a thrill of knowing they're going to get caught. I mean, I'm trying to think of an appropriate thing to compare it to, but the one thing going through my mind really isn't appropriate for a broadcast. But it's like knowing that there's a possibility you could get caught doing something you're not supposed to. I guess that's why they do it, because it's the thrill of it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't make it right, and I think it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it okay, but I think people just get off on it, and it's just one of those things I'll never understand.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get it personally. But it's a shame because, well, I mean, I don't know if it's a shame or not because I can't stand them. But in a way, it's a shame because their record is forever tarnished. I mean, people are always going to associate New England with cheating. So many of their Super Bowls have been tainted, and it's just crazy.
Exactly, and that's all they're going to think of. And when people get drafted in the future to the New England Patriots, that's all people are going to think of. Oh, you were drafted to the team that cheated, and why would you want that? People thinking that when you made a big career move, you are doing something wonderful for your career. You get drafted to an NFL team, and all people could see is the fact that, oh, you're on the team that cheated. You're on a team that deflated their balls. I mean, come on, that's really not fair to them. It's like, should we focus on the cheating, or should we focus on the fact that they actually know how to play? I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, if that makes sense.
It would make sense, but personally, if I was getting drafted out of college, I wouldn't be thinking about the cheating at all. I'd be thinking about that paycheck, that money coming in. But that's just me.
Is it too late for me to be the first female NFL player? I mean, I'm going to be 33 in 2 weeks. Maybe I could try to do it now. I mean, it's not too late for me, is it?
I don't know. Maybe you could. How good are you at deflating footballs? Maybe that could be your in.
I could use my nail, my earrings. Oh, I dropped my earring.
Yeah, there you go. It's that discreet. Yeah, if you can get away with it. Accidents happen, that type of a thing. Maybe there's a place for you in New England. If you're good at helping people get away with murder, then maybe Baltimore's the place to go.
Shh, you weren't supposed to tell people that.
That's your big secret, huh?
Shh. You're not supposed to tell people that. And did my brother blab to you about that? No, I'm just kidding. But now people think I'm a cheating murderer trying to get into the NFL. Thank you.
Maybe we'll get your own grave. I'm just talking here, Maybe
I'll get more than 5 viewers this time.
There we go.
You will be Googling Sammi the cheating NFL player wannabe.
And all that will come up is football in high heels. Don't they say no publicity is bad publicity?
That's true. Look at Ryan Lochte with his flying scandal at the Olympics, and now he's on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, yeah. Look at Donald Trump. I mean, with his campaign, I feel like all the negative publicity has just been giving him more and more views, and now he's up in the polls. So.
That's true. Yeah, I did notice that. And that's what always happens. Maybe that's why some of these people do the bad things, like the drunk driving and the cheating and the drugs. Not condoning it again, but maybe they do it because no publicity is bad publicity, and they just want to get their names out there and for the attention.
Well, I just think when it comes to the pot issue, I mean, my God, how pathetic. Like, how pathetic. Do you realize how difficult it is to get suspended in the NFL for pot?
I actually never really thought about it. I've never done the drug in my life. I've never done any drug in my life. Just going on the record, I never did drugs, never will, and wouldn't even know where to get them. But
well, I only know just from research and listening. I mean, they have to fail multiple times before they even get suspended. I mean, there's different programs they go through and everything else. So you have to really be almost asking to get suspended for pot in the NFL. And what's sad to me is you've got a bunch of grown men, multimillionaires, who are so pathetic, such losers, that they can't put down the pipe for just a few years, or even right before they test you, because they tell you when they're going to test you. So it's
exactly
to get it out of your system. So I mean, it's just so pathetic to me that this is even an issue, and it's such a big issue that it's probably going to come up in contract negotiations for the next CBA, and the players are probably going to lose something in order to gain the ability to smoke weed. They're likely going to lose something important, in my estimation, just for the right to be able to smoke weed, because it's not a legal issue. Your employer can outlaw any drug they want. There's hospitals that outlaw their employees from smoking and other things. So it's not even a legal issue. It's a collectively bargained agreement. And in that agreement, they've decided that weed is not acceptable. And these players are just so pathetic, so many of them, that they can't put down the joint.
Yeah,
Millions
exactly.
of dollars on the line, and they can't put down the joint.
And if they're going to tell you what it is, why don't you just not do it for a few days? I don't understand. I mean, if you're told you're going to get a drug test, right, the first thing I would do is not do anything. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, any job out there for the most part can make you take a random drug test, let alone tell you when it's coming. I know I worked for and obviously different situation. Nobody's life is on the line if Le'Veon Bell decides to light up. But, I worked for a delivery driving company, and if I got into an accident, guess where I was going? The first place I went.
For a drug test.
Yeah, the drug screening place, because I wasn't in a collectively bargained agreement. That was just the rules, and that's what I did.
I had the exact same thing happen. One of my other jobs is working in a deli, and I cut myself on a slicer one day. I had to go to the hospital, and they had to stitch me up. First thing they did was give me a drug test.
Yeah.
And I understand it. I mean, I took it, I completed it. First of all, they completely messed up and thought I needed a breathalyzer, but by the time they gave me the drug test, it was just like, okay, I completely understand why I have to do this, but there was like no way I wasn't gonna say. I was gonna say no, which brings me to my
Sure.
next topic of James Harrison. How did that finally end? We were discussing it on your show last week. The fact that he was giving them a hard time about meeting with the people in charge, and it really pissed me off that him and the other players were giving everybody a hard time about it. I mean, you're just making yourself look more guilty by not taking the test, but I understand he finally spoke to them and finally did what he had to do.
Yeah, so basically what happened in the end is he ended up going to the meeting. He set a meeting with the NFL. They went to the meeting. He talked to the investigators, and the NFL came out with a statement that there was no evidence that he was using performance-enhancing drugs. And basically, it was just a game of chicken, really, to see who would budge. And I had Tim Benz of DK on Pittsburgh Sports on my show, and he said that he felt the NFL never really wanted to find any drugs. They never wanted to find a PED situation, and they didn't expect to either. It was just basically a situation where they wanted to prove who the boss was. You know, you have the players saying one thing, you have management saying another, and it was just a way for management to assert themselves over the players and cement that authority that management has, that, by the way, was collectively bargained by the players because they didn't want to go into a lockout and lose that money. So they can whine, they can complain, they can put the pouty face on, but at the end of the day, they dug their own grave. They're the ones who gave Roger Goodell that power. Now, the Steelers can say that they were opposed to the CBA and they voted against that, and that is accurate. However, I'm in a union. The CBA was decided before I joined the union. We just had a new CBA that was arbitrated, and I had no say in that decision-making process. The only thing I could do is vote on leadership. But guess what? I'm still bound by that CBA, whether I liked it or not. I'm in a union. My union negotiated a contract. I actually happened to like the new contract they negotiated. I got some things out of it, but even if I didn't, oh well. You're in a union. Don't unionize if you don't want to abide by the CBA, but then at that point you don't have a CBA to stand on and use in a negotiating process. So it's just the way things are. It's the way life is. You know, a lot of times you vote on a representative, they make it into Harrisburg or they make it into Washington, D.C., depending on the level of government, and they vote on laws that you don't like, but guess what? You still have to abide by them. And the only thing you can do is try to change it the next time the election comes around, or in your union the next time the CBA is up for renegotiation. It's just the way it is.
Exactly, and it's one of those things, like I said, I'll never understand, but that's a really good analogy, using it about the state representatives. It's like, and you also actually have to be active in it, and you also have to vote, because otherwise you really have no right to complain about it.
That's the thing. A lot of these people, they complain, they whine, they moan, they throw the pouty face on, they stamp their hands and cry, but they don't make it to the voting booth. They don't even call their representative to complain. So, you know, you can talk to the wind all you want, but the wind's not going to blow your way if you don't put up if you don't work the fans in the room to manipulate them in the way you want. You know, you gotta get involved in the process is basically what I'm trying to say. I agree completely.
Yeah, so does it just mean that James is going to play, or what's going to happen with him now?
Oh, he won't be suspended, no, because he complied. Now, I haven't heard anything about a fine, but there's it's possible he could get fined because he called Roger Goodell a crook, and that could be argued as something that makes the NFL look bad. There's probably something in there they could fine him for. They do a good job of fining James Harrison. That's kind of a pastime of Roger Goodell, so I wouldn't be surprised if a fine did come out over those comments.
They could probably get him on a libel or scandal thing. Now, did he say it? Did he put it in a blog post? I mean, I only heard. Okay, so yes, that could be a very good slander case for them. And I actually, at this point, with everything I've learned, I wouldn't be surprised if that were to actually happen.
Maybe. I don't know if I think the NFL wants to put it behind them now. I think they got what they wanted out of this situation. I think they're ready to move on. And to be quite honest, if they're gonna go after James Harrison for calling Roger Goodell a crook, but they're gonna let Colin Kaepernick slide for wearing socks that depict police officers as pigs, then again, that I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It is the NFL, but really, what is making the NFL look worse?
That's true. And what did you think about that with the one that wore the socks? With
Colin Kaepernick.
Yes, thank you. I'm like, we're talking here, and like my name escapes me. See, I'm getting old, Brian. I'm 33. My brain is going. So
I turned 30 this year.
But we still look young enough where we could get away with being in our 20s.
Right. People still card me, so that's good.
Yep. It's likewise.
What do I feel about the Kaepernick situation? I've talked about this at length on my program, and it's a weird situation. There's so many layers to the situation. First and foremost, I don't know why we care. Again, it's these priorities in our society. The same week that this news came out about Colin Kaepernick deciding to not stand during the national anthem, at the same time, a mayor in Maine came out and said that minorities are the enemy. The enemy's in red, the good guys are in blue, and you shoot the guys in red. A governor.
Yeah, that was not okay for that governor to say that. That was
my thing is people don't care. Paul LePage is his name. Call his office and tell him he's an asshat, because he is. But anyways, this guy comes out with this. Nobody cares. Colin Kaepernick decides to sit down during a song, and the world flips upside down. That I have an issue with, and that I don't really understand. But to the situation at hand, I think he was a douchebag to do it. I can understand why people are pissed, but again, in the grand scheme of things, is it really that big of? I mean, it is a big deal for service members and their families, but is it worse than Michael Vick torturing dogs and killing dogs? And that's my thing. The outcry over this has been so much greater than anything else. And I was talking to Matt Geica about this situation on my program the other day, and I asked him the question. I said, is a nation made up of songs and poems, or is it made up of people? And he agreed with me that it's a song. I mean, it's a song that has a lot of meaning to it. But to be quite honest, it's a song about a war that we lost and a battle that we lost. So, I mean, it's not like, America's greatest moment to begin with. But I don't know. I just don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. Now, the socks I actually think is a bigger deal, and no one's really talking about that. To me, that's really insulting. And a new development, the police where the stadium is, Santa Carla, I believe, Santa Clara, which is actually the police force that patrols the area where their stadium is. The union is talking about boycotting the games and not enforcing working as security at the games. The city always partners up with the NFL to provide that security, and they're upset about being required to protect this guy, and they're considering boycotting. I don't know what their CBA is. A lot of times, you just can't boycott something like that, but it may be written in their CBA that they can. I haven't read it. But I think that's an interesting development as well. There's just so many different layers to this story. And I don't know. On one hand, I say, as a police officer is too important to allow things like that to get in the way. But on the flip side, in a work environment, you're only expected to put up with a certain level of disrespect. And I think that level may have been reached with Colin Kaepernick, and I can understand why they wouldn't want to go there. So I don't know what the right situation is in that scenario. So there's so many different levels to this story that go beyond somebody deciding not to sit down, not to stand up for a song.
Yes, exactly. And I want to give my rebuttal to that. I think that it was disrespectful for him to sit down during the song, and I I don't want to say I understand his point of view on that, because obviously I'm in a different life situation. However, this is his way of, I guess, doing a peaceful protest. However, I think he handled it very poorly. There were other ways he could have done it. Was not in front of the NFL. That was not disrespecting. Because I was always raised that when a national anthem comes up, you hand on your heart, or you stand at attention. And I have a big issue with that. And I know, quickly going back to the Olympics, when Gabby Douglas didn't have her hand on her heart during the national anthem, I know they gave her a lot of problems with that. And she was technically standing at attention, but I know a lot of people said she wasn't because of the way she was holding her little trophy or whatever. So yes, when you disrespect the national anthem, I do have a very big issue with that. So I think he handled his oppression protest, or whatever he's calling it.
First off, he's a multimillionaire. He's not oppressed.
Yes, yeah.
But
he's not oppressed anyway.
I do think he raised some issues that are important that need to be discussed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not taking away from that.
I think it was the wrong venue. I don't know who all was involved, but there were some NBA players that spoke about the issue at the ESPYs, and it was tastefully done.
Yes.
And I think it reached people in a better way, because, to be quite honest, you upset somebody, like you're upset about this national anthem thing, right?
Right, yes, I am.
So does that kind of, when you see something like that, does that open your mind to consider his point of view, or does that kind of close off your mind where you're now angry, so you are no longer listening to his message?
It does close my mind, and I'm not going to listen. When you do something disrespectful, at least for me, it closes my mind. I'm like, all right,
most people do.
Yeah, exactly.
I would as well. If you came in on Wells Fargo, for example, I was talking about this on my show yesterday morning. They came out with an ad that said, and had a picture of a girl and a boy.
I was like, the ballerina today, engineer tomorrow, actor today, something else, biochemist tomorrow, some BS like that. Yeah, I had an issue with that too. It's like, why can't you be both? She takes ballet. Well, what's wrong? The whole thing just frustrated me to beyond belief.
I thought it was insulting as somebody who's and you're in the entertainment field as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the entertainment field, and there's nothing wrong with going into that kind of work. And I, of course, was closed off to Wells Fargo's apology because I was upset. And I think in Colin's situation, upsetting people so vividly, people were vividly upset, they're not going to listen to his point of view. It's kind of like I said about the Black Lives Matter group, and I'm not trying to paint that whole movement in this light, because it's not all this way, but there were certain people who were out there, look like in Dallas, where the guy went out and murdered police officers. Well, now you've just alienated everybody who could possibly be considering your point of view, that were on the fence. You've now just pushed them the other direction. Martin Luther King, when he was dealing with oppression, he did it in a way that wasn't hurting other people, and I think he reached more people for that way. So maybe if Colin Kaepernick maybe held an event, or he's got the money, he could run an ad on TV. There are things he could do that could really maybe change the conversation and change it to a positive conversation where people are looking to find answers together instead of dividing people on whether or not he's going to stand or sit for a song.
Exactly. And I think that had he done that, even if he had taken an ad out like they do during the election time, had he done that, even if he did a YouTube broadcast like this, people would have watched, people would have listened, people would have retweeted and reposted whatever, and people would have watched, people would have listened, and we could have had a peaceful, mature protest. But instead, he sat down, brought negative attention not only to him, but to his team and his teammates, and it caused people like you and me to not listen and completely be shut off. And going to the sock issue, I come from a family of cops. I found that very insulting. Because when you call a cop that's one of the biggest insults you can call a cop. So I thought that was disgusting. And he was basically digging himself into more of a grave and making things worse for himself.
And he'll be the first one to cry discrimination when he isn't treated with maybe the respect that he would if he would. I mean, if he didn't wear those socks, would you treat someone with respect if they were out making terrible comments about your profession and what you do? I don't know.
No, I would probably I would ignore them, but still, I completely the whole thing just really upsets me, and I'm just like, why did you have to do it this way? Why couldn't you just handle it like an adult? I mean, I'm sure you have things that you disagree with. I have things I disagree with, but I'm not going to be like sitting down and pouting because I'm not getting my way and people aren't listening. I'll handle it in a mature manner and talk calmly about it, like we're talking now, and hopefully people will listen. But if I start screaming and yelling and protesting, people aren't going to listen to me.
Well, we are talking about a group of people that are willing to put up millions of dollars to smoke a joint. So maybe we aren't talking about a group of people that has the best of judgment to begin with. But it opens up a lot of interesting conversation, which is
It really
good for
does,
people
yeah.
like us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm having a great time discussing this because I'm actually learning a lot from you, not only about football, but like the inside scoop of football. I feel like we're going like football detectives here because
I'm
I'm
the
learning
worst
so much.
person to talk about when it comes to X's and O's. I'm not a mindsmith of the game as it's played. I love to talk about the societal issues and the entertainment value of it. So that's more, where I come into play. If you're going to talk about a specific play on the field, Matt Geica, Tim Benz, any of these other people would be a good person to talk to. But if you want to talk about union contracts and how the effect of what people do in society, that's kind of in my wheelhouse and what I love talking about. So I guess that's why I like to get behind the scenes and what's going on under the fray, because that to me is more interesting than can somebody throw, can somebody catch.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, I've never thought of it. You gave me a lot of things to think about because all the points you brought up, I never would have thought of on my own. And I really thank you for that because I didn't know there were so
My
many
pleasure.
societal issues. I mean, I knew that there are things going on behind the scenes that were unsavory, but I never knew it was that intense. So I definitely learned a lot tonight. I hope you learned something too, other
I
than the
did.
fact that my
It's been
cat is a football
wonderful.
fan.
No, I did. I loved it. It was great. And it's great to hear your perspective as somebody else who is not just entrenched, because all I deal with are all these people who are either so apathetic to the game and what's going on that they're unwilling to comment because they just don't care. Or I get somebody who doesn't care at all, but they feel the need to comment, and it's like, well, you don't even know these people. Not that I know them, but at least I know of them. And then you get the other people on the other side who are just such hardcore football fans that they literally will say, and this is something that people tell me all the time. You talk about someone driving drunk through the south side of Pittsburgh, and the argument is, all I care about is what they do on the field. All I care about is what they do on the field. Did they score? Did they do a good job? That's all I care about. And that person can say that now, but when it's their daughter being dragged out of an elevator, when it's their kid being killed in a drunk driving accident, when it's their son shooting up on heroin from a drug lord that can't seem to get out of the hood, even though they're making millions of dollars and they're involved in that gang, maybe then you'll care a little bit more about what's done off the field. Because these people have a lot of
Exactly.
money and they have a lot of influence, and they're not always the brightest.
The thing that gets me is I want to go back to that. They don't care. They say they don't care about that. They don't care about the drunk driving and the drugs and the whatever else is unsavory going on. But they're the first that jump on Lindsay Lohan's back. They jump on Charlie Sheen's back for all the stuff that they've done. And not saying I'm not condoning anything Lindsay and Charlie do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think their behavior is just as bad, but it's like, why are we attacking them? Why are we attacking Paris Hilton for making a sex tape, Kim Kardashian for posing naked with a bottle of champagne, and why is it not the same thing? It's like, oh, they're bad influences for our children. We need them off our television. But if a football player does it, it's like, oh, well, they scored, a touchdown and they're the greatest of all time. Like I said, I'm not trying to say anything against football or anything for Kim Kardashian or anybody. I'm just saying it just seems like it's a very weird double standard when it comes to sports and entertainment.
I agree, and your point rings home with me. And even on a football level, you can look at it. Look at the case of going back to James Harrison when he hit his girl, and there was so he hit his girl, and maybe you don't know this, but there were actually two Steeler players who both hit the girl that they were with, at the same time. One player is James Harrison. The other one was named Cedric Wilson.
I remember.
He was cut. James Harrison
Yes.
was not. James Harrison was a player that they thought, well, the argument was, and this is what, I think this is the case that really opened my mind to how ridiculous the NFL is. Just because it was home, it was here, and you had two cases side by side in the same year, so it was very easy to compare.
Yeah, sure.
Dan Rooney, his argument for keeping James Harrison was that they look at each case by case, and they make decisions based on that. And in James's case, he wanted his child to be baptized. So the argument from Dan Rooney was that, in the way that I interpret it, is that if you are hitting your wife or girlfriend or significant other for a religious reason, then hey, that's okay. Whatever it takes. Really, we know what the real story is. Cedric Wilson wasn't good enough to be a problem. James Harrison was, so they kept the player that they needed. They let go of the player that they could do without. And the fan base will defend James Harrison to this day. You talk to anybody here in Steeler Nation, and they will do whatever they can to defend James Harrison. Cedric Wilson, who? No one even remembers who he is.
Yeah, I had to think about that too, to be honest with you. But first of all, let me tell you, if some guy tried to hit me, I'd drop him like a sack of potatoes, and I would.
I know you would.
But all
trust me, I wouldn't mess with you even in a fair fight. I'd be like, hands off.
And the scary thing is, my viewers really can't see me. I'm a 4'10", 100 and whatever pound little girl, and and you're already like back up. But my point of the matter is the fact that if I were to do that on my job, if I were to hit somebody, or if I found out I was doing domestically abusing my boyfriend, they would be like, all right, we're going to have to let you go. Any other job, they would let you go. But when it comes to football, it's like, if you're really good at your job, you get to keep it. But if you're not, they let you go. And I think if you're caught doing something like that, no matter what the case is, no matter how good you are, how bad you are, you should be cut, and no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because it's never okay to do that, any of that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to look up certain Jeremy Clarkson. Are you familiar with Jeremy Clarkson?
I know the name, but refresh me on about him.
Okay, so Jeremy Clarkson, he was, and I don't know why I'm having like a Top Gear. He was a host on Top Gear, and he hit, and you know how big Top Gear is? Okay, it's like the biggest show in the world.
Right, exactly.
He was fired for hitting someone.
Yeah.
But James Harrison marches right along.
I don't understand. It's
one of the biggest celebrities in the world, and he gets fired from the BBC, and James Harrison marches on. Ray Lewis marched on. They got a statue of Ray Lewis now in Baltimore. He helped at the very least, cover up a murder, and they have a statue for him. So
I don't understand. It really is. And I want to have you on next week because I don't know if you're aware, but Penn State, they're honoring Joe Paterno, and they're again rallying to bring his statue back. And I want your expert opinion on this because I have a feeling we're going to probably have either a really good debate or we're going to have a lot we agree on.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I'll be talking about the issue tomorrow on my program. Live at 10 a.m. at riversedgepgh.com, Facebook, and also on TuneIn Radio. So it'll be a nice segue into next week. So I'll be prepared.
Yeah, I would love to listen to that. I would love to offer my expert opinions because I have a lot to say about that issue.
Yeah, I was wondering. I know your work schedule's a little bit difficult, so I was wondering if it was possible. I didn't know.
Yeah, I am actually free. Now that everybody in the world is going to know my work schedule because we're live, I'll text me after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested in that because I have a lot of opinions on that because I have dealt with certain situations in that, and yeah, we'll have to tune in next week, and you have to tune into Brian's show to see what I mean on that. I'm sure my brother's filled you in on what happened, so you know my opinion already.
He has not, so I'm interested to hear tomorrow what's going on. But check out Collegian, some homework for your listeners if they plan to tune in tomorrow to my show. Check out collegian.psu.edu and look up the editorial Paterno in the Present. and it's a little light reading. It's an interesting perspective from the students of the university, specifically talking about Joe Paterno Day. So check that out, and it's a good read.
Yeah, I've read that too, and it's very interesting, and it's really surprising some of the things that people are saying.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm excited to dive into that tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. And we are out of time. We jump from topic to topic. That's usually what happens when you're live. You end up on like completely random topics, but that's why I love recording live, because you never know what's going to happen. You expect the
It's
unexpected.
more fun that way. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I had so much fun with you, and I definitely
Likewise.
want you on next week to discuss the whole Penn State thing and the first week of NFL and what we expect from week 2, because I'm feeling this is going to be a really interesting football season.
Yeah, after I get a look at how the team comes together next week, I think I'll have a better idea. I'll try to get some opinions of some of the guys I know in the area and see what they're saying as well, because they know more about the X's and O's than I do. But yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, but you know what? Have them join us. We could have one or both of them could join the show, and we could have the 4 of us could have a very lively discussion.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'll ask. Maybe Matt will be free. I don't know what his schedule is. He's the Pirates beat writer, so a lot of times he's out of state. But I'll run it by him.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone, we are out of time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Brian, for being on the show. Make sure you tune in next week. And don't forget to hit that little subscribe button so you can have all the Football and High Heels Presents videos at your fingertips and be alerted when I post a new one. So thank you so much and have a good night. Bye. Thank you.